mom came into the room and she's like, look at my phone. And then I couldn't see it, so I had to look at mine. I'm like, oh.
I can't bet against Tom Brady. I have the Bucks winning 31-27 and Tom Brady going to his 10th championship.
Yeah, and I really think the Clippers' chance to win the championship was last year. And they were up 3-1 against the Denver Nuggets.
Chris Paul is one of the most underrated players of all time. He's been the best player wherever he goes, and that includes with the Rockets.
You said you can't bet against Tom Brady, and as a Cowboys fan and what I just did last weekend, I am not going to bet against Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. I mean, that's all I can really say. There's two of the top 5 players in the league, and they are very, very good.
Hello, I'm Taylor Hearn, and you listen to The Outsiders' Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our MLB Opinions of the Week. This is titled MLB Burials. We have 3 teams. This is kind of based off expectations and just how bad they are. We can say they are officially done, probably. Done in playoff races.
Oh, you don't have to mention probably. These teams are definitely done. Even though what team do you want to start with, Kevin?
I want to start with the Yankees because here's the Yankees. I think had a really good offseason. Re-sign Aaron Judge. You add in Carlos Rodon, who, in my opinion, if I was for the pitchers on the market, for premier pitchers on the market, I would have chosen in over DeGrom. And that's why I was looking up his stats beforehand, because Carlos Rodon has dealt with a lot of injuries, has not pitched well. He's a 6.27 ERA. I believe, is he back or is he back on the IL with another injury?
He's back. He actually started pretty well in our last game, even though I think we lost again. But yeah, he started well in his last game, but really he hasn't been that great.
Yeah, so I mentioned the ERA. He's pitched 33 innings pitched. Then you have Jacob DeGrom, who is out for the year for sure, but he is at 30.1 innings pitched, and he had a 2.67 ERA during that time.
Yeah, and Kevin, I think a perfect example of this, I told this story before we started recording. I think this is just what the Yankees have been this year. We will keep in Johnny Brito. We'll bring him up, and then he will give up 4 in the first inning, 3 in the second inning against Boston, and then we'll pull him after he gives up 7. But Randy Vasquez, who I thought it was 2.57 or 2.75, actually his ERA is 2.42, and we'll pull him after he gives up a 2-run homer against the Braves in the 3rd inning. Well, or he pitches 3.1 innings that game, and we'll pull him. I just don't understand the logic behind giving a guy such a short leash when he's young, and he only gives up a 2-run homer to Eddie Rosario, but Brito or Severino can give up 7+, and we'll keep him in, and those games will just be over because our offense is not good enough to recover. It seems very unfair. Look, people don't want to blame Boone, and I don't want to blame Boone completely, but you have to understand what your team is going through and just say, hey, you can stay in the game when you've given up so many runs, but Vasquez gets pulled as a starter with a 2.42 ERA, and he just got sent back down to the minors for some reason. I just don't understand the logic about the leashes that he gives out to certain starters, the leashes he gives out to others. It doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And if I were the Yankees, I would clean house. I would get rid of Aaron Boone, and I would also get rid of Brian Cashman. I feel Brian Cashman has made some good moves. Like, of course, Aaron Judge is a great move, but it just seems to me, this roster I know surged in like 2017 and 2018, but to me, Brian Cashman just doesn't seem to be looking ahead. And I think when you're the New York Yankees, you should be looking ahead. And to me, he should be fired, and they should get someone else new to help fix this team. Because I feel you have Judge. Stanton is still good. I really like Bader. It's just other pieces around that just haven't worked out. You also talk about the Joey Gallo trade. That didn't work out. You still have Anthony Rizzo, and of course you have Garrett Cole. But to me, there are things that I don't think Brian Cashman can fix. because it just seems like he's chasing that 2017-2018 team when to me baseball has changed since then.
And
Literally, they've changed the rules. So, yeah.
it's not just that. That 2017 team was built with a lot more grit, with a lot more determination than this team is. We lose a guy, and this is something I want to bring up. Brett Gardner is definitely not playing baseball again, even though he probably should still be. He would be the best left fielder on the team still. And we get rid of him to try to move on, and we haven't had a left fielder since he left. We were a playoff team with him as our left fielder. He actually moved to center that year because of injuries to Aaron Hicks and was very good defensively. 0 errors. None. 0. As we're a bad fielding team in the outfield sometimes. And I just don't understand the moves we're making. We get rid of him for the logic that we can be better without a plan. There's just no plan. And that's something I really can't get behind. The 2017 team was magical. And I think that team wins the World Series. Maybe the Dodgers. I'll give the Dodgers some credit. They were great that year. But it should have been one of those two. And I'll never forget how great that Yankees team was. But Cashman can't keep holding on to that and use that as, oh, well, we should have won in 2017 as an excuse for him still being around on the team. Sure, we should have won that year. We also suck. So change has to come, or I don't know if mentally I can take it.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if he stays. And I think one guy, he is currently the vice president of the Toronto Blue Jays, but he was the GM of the Astros last year, or the past 2 years, and he kept them up pretty well. They actually won a legitimate championship, and that's James Click. I feel Astros made a mistake, and I feel James Click would help. That's just one name that sticks out to me because I feel the Yankees have good systems. It's just I think they just need someone a little bit thinking more in the future. Because if you look at the Astros, they a lot of that old team was gone and part of their prospects, but they still helped retain a better farm system. To me, now that's starting to decline, and I feel it wouldn't decline if James Click was there. So I feel that's a prime naming prime guy for a GM spot, or it could be someone else. Just get someone else in there who's thinking more about the future, but also is willing to wheel and deal to make better deals.
Yeah, and it's systematic at this point. I don't necessarily know if we will be able to see this team succeed if we see the same thing happening every year.
Yeah, I agree. And so, yeah, I think we can lay this team to rest. They're probably the deepest one in the burials. The next team, though, don't have to go that far. It's the New York Mets. To me, they kind of accepted their burial, so I don't feel as bad as they do with the Yankees. The Yankees just seem stuck. They're like, no, there's hope. Well, no, there's not. The Mets acknowledged there's no hope. Let's try to get something back. And I feel they did pretty well at the deadline.
Yeah, the Mets are the one team that I think next year will be significantly better. I could already see them as a playoff team next year. I see the vision, and I think management has definitely done a better job than the Yankees. Even though with the Yankees, I'll mention this really quickly before we completely go on to the Mets. I could see them being much better next year because of health reasons, but the Mets team is really improved for next year, picking up Luis Acuna and Drew Gilbert, two very highly touted prospects that I could see making the league next year.
Yeah, I don't know if we see Luis Angel Acuna in center field. He can play shortstop, but can also play second baseman. He did do a little bit of center field, so I feel he'll be a good player and can definitely help the team. And I'm curious what they do with Alonso, but I feel Alonso's good. And it's just guys in the outfield, but they also got Corey Davis, like you mentioned, from the Astros. So I feel there's better look on the horizon, and I do think they're going to do probably some more spending.
Do you mean Drew Gilbert?
Oh, is it Drew Gilbert? My bad.
Yeah, that's why I said Drew Gilbert.
Okay.
I don't think.
Yeah. I think there
Corey.
might was Corey Davis also in the trade or no? Maybe
Was
he's
he?
younger.
I didn't know if he was. I didn't know.
Am I think I. Nope. Yeah, I think I'm thinking of the wide receiver Corey Davis. Yeah, so it's Drew
Yeah,
Gilbert. My bad.
yeah, it was definitely Drew Gilbert. I knew that he was the
Okay.
highest Astros prospect, and that I do think he will be extremely good soon.
Yeah. So I feel it's better for them. I also like Kodai Senga. I think he's doing well. But yeah, there's nothing else. It's just they've acknowledged their fate, like the other team we're about to talk about. But with the Mets, I don't think I see anything bad changing. They've kind of moved on. So yeah, I feel the harshest burial is probably the Yankees.
Yeah, we can move on.
Yeah. One more thing though was the Mets just had high expectations given what they did last year, even though they failed in the playoffs. They were still a great team, and they had that huge spending spree, and it just didn't work out. So that's why they're getting buried because fans want to forget this season.
I mean, I'd say it's pretty equal to what happened with the Yankees when they make the move for Rodon and obviously trade for Montas the year before and make other moves. But yeah,
Yeah. My thing with the Yankees is it seems like they're stuck or they're in the denial phase where the Mets have accepted the fate for at least this year.
the Yankees should accept the
Yeah.
situation that they are in, and I still think they could be very good next year if the moves are made correctly. But until then, uh, we're not going to get anything good coming soon.
Yeah, and then another team I think that also did well at the deadline but also is buried. They've accepted their fate. I don't think anyone should be fired. Just seems like a weird year and a terrible way to end Adam Wainwright's year, and that is or like career is the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah, the Cardinals have really, really, really fallen off. I do want to see Adam Wainwright reach 200 wins. He's only 2 wins away, but he's lost a lot straight games. I do think he'll get to 200. I do think they'll keep starting him, and they should, despite the fact that he is very much struggling this year. To not start him and to not let him get to 200 wins, I think would be disingenuous. But this season has been a disaster for him and for so many other players on a team that was supposed to be contending.
Yeah, I agree. But they did well at the deadline. They got um, Thomas Sajaci from the Rangers, who I've heard will be. I've heard one guy even said he'd rather have him over Luis Angel Acuna. Um, and that was a guy that was at the Rough Riders games all the time. So that's something they got a good pitcher in TK Roby, but also it looks like Mason Wynn is coming up and he could be their future shortstop. And I think you still have a good year of next year of Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado. Maybe Wilson Contreras gets better. They're just missing Yachty at this point. It's just their outfield we'll have to see, but it's really on the pitching side, which I think will be fixed next year.
Yeah, pitching's definitely been the biggest problem with this team.
It looks like their relievers have bounced back, but next year I think they'll just do much better, and they got a lot of that at the deadline. So, but overall, you and I had them really high. That's going to be fun reviewing those rankings. And especially, even though it didn't end well in the playoffs last year, I think they had a lot of high hopes, but it just didn't work out.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, so majority of this was on the Yankees, but I feel like the Yankees deserved it because they have had like historic losing streaks. Looks like that's ending today. But the Cardinals and Mets also had high expectations, but they just moved on to the acceptance of this season stunk.
Yep, definitely.
Let us know if you think there's another team that should be buried. Let us know what you think in the comments. We appreciate it. And make sure to check out all our socials. OO_podcast 20, I believe, on Twitter. OO_podcast on Instagram. That's all we got. Thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.